Matt, pleasure to have you on the Here's How podcast. Now, I was thinking of a way to start this, and I'm going to put it as bluntly as possible because I think it's like the best subject that I think will revolve around today, and it's that if you don't embrace change and you remain the same, you will die, right? And the reason why I say that with this is, you're an entrepreneur. You're both helping business owners grow their business. You've also built your businesses. But in that statement, there is truer than ever, especially today. Like I think that 25 years ago, the landscape of building a business was very different than today. And it's especially different today because change is happening at such a faster pace. Like, I feel like since COVID, we've lived 5 years, but it feels like 50 years of innovation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what's really cool about that is with change comes obviously more opportunity. Like we've seen people build businesses from their home with
hmm
things like drop shipping and e-commerce, where they're saying goodbye to the brick and mortar and they're just using an online platform. We've seen also the downside where it's like businesses like in hospitality that had to pivot and try to figure out how am I even going to run my business if my doors are closed,
Yeah.
right? Like I thrive on having people and the social aspect in a business.
Yeah.
Um, and we've also, which is a really cool topic and you're deeply involved with, and is the catalyst of change today, which is AI,
Yeah.
right? And that's something
Yeah.
that I think more and more people are becoming aware of. But we're still kind of at that cusp where people are thinking like, is it a threat or is it like the greatest innovation in modern day history,
Yeah.
right?
And the answer to that is yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
It is a threat, and
Yeah.
it is an incredible catalyst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, for you, there's simplicity design, which I'm gonna leave just enough there for people
hmm
to then Google and
Sure. Yeah.
find out more about that. But
Yeah.
essentially, it's a business that is looking to help business owners scale their business through processes and systems, and also adopting AI.
Yeah.
And you've also got a really cool business that you've helped found in Greater Moncton, which is Epoch Chemistry, which is totally unique. And we were just before we got into it, before the cameras were rolling, we were talking about dark roast coffee and how we've been sold this I guess this flavor, which is literally just burnt coffee beans, and it tastes pretty much identical wherever you go.
Yeah.
And it goes without saying that your journey in entrepreneurship has also been seen by your peers as something that is incredibly successful. You've been in 2021, been named Business Leader of the Year through the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. You were amongst the Atlantic Canada's top 50 CEOs for multiple years, which is amazing. So obviously, you know a lot about entrepreneurship. And my first question for you, because I've been doing all the talking up until now, what moment in your journey were you like, I'm not going to work in a business to help somebody build their own dream. I want to be someone that build businesses.
Yeah. I mean, I think anybody who starts a business is. Look, I told you this off camera. I'm
Yeah.
I'm functionally unemployable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so like I started. I said I'd never be in business. I trained teacher, taught in South Korea.
Okay. Cool.
I then went the academic route and spent a decade in academia.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept coming back to principles that my dad brought first to the Irving family of companies, and then
Okay.
to Hockey Canada, and then to the provincial government. And I kept coming back to those principles and how to lead an organization and how to drive value with people. And so it became kind of unignorable.
Right.
And when my dad decided he was going to retire early from JDI and asked me if I'd come home and we'd start this company,
Mm-hmm.
I jumped at it. I had gotten to the point in academia where, I mean, literally the last dissertation I read was left-handed nunnery in Spain over a 3-year period in the 17th century. It was like 300 pages, and I'm like, okay, good brain's doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Let's go do some meaningful stuff.
Okay.
So we started a management consulting firm, and we helped other people build castles.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
after a while, we went, wait a minute. we're well-paid, invited guests, but we're here for a period of time.
Right.
And if we're really going to get into this, let's start building.
Yeah.
So that put us on a journey of starting to build a portfolio of companies.
Yeah.
11 companies in the portfolio now, a couple hundred employees. We have majority or minority control in those different portfolios, and everywhere from health to law to coffee, as you said,
Yeah.
construction.
Okay. Wow.
So I get the honor of working with a number of fellow entrepreneurs as they're scaling.
Okay.
Either being invited in to help them transform with the larger businesses, or working in a cohort approach with leadership, helping businesses start their journey, or with our own portfolio of companies.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, it's really interesting to hear that you have so much involvement in different facets of, the stages of some businesses, whether
Yeah.
they're already structured or they're
Yeah.
really in that founding stage, or they're maybe in between, or they're at a crossroad or whatnot. Now, when it comes to looking at it from the perspective of, okay, I'm going to, let's say, start a business,
Yeah.
all of these stages that these businesses have been in, they've all started at that starting point, right? What we say for you is kind of like that blueprint of like, this is how you start doing what you want to do in a business.
Yeah, the first question you have to ask yourself is, what problem do I solve for who?
Yeah.
What's the value of solving it? And I got to get that question nailed.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs who start with a solution that they love, they get run over.
Yeah.
Right? You got to fall in hate with the current solution, but you got to fall in love with the problem you're solving.
Right.
Because you hit on it earlier with change. Look, like every person and every business is an organism that lives in an ecosystem of a world that's changing. Nobody asked for tariffs. Nobody asked for a fundamental change in the economic environment, but we all have to deal with it.
Right.
A market that's changing. Right. So like what customers want, what they value changes. I mean, look, like how 10 years ago it would have been unheard of for home hardware to do a podcast.
Right.
Unheard of. Right.
Yeah,
so how you
100%.
reach your market and how you engage with your market changes. And then the capabilities to deliver that value is changing. So you got a world that's changing, a market that's changing, and your capabilities, you hit on this with AI.
Yeah.
Yes, it's happening faster, but that's always happened. Major changes happening in markets, et cetera. So the reason why I bring this up is that if you're going to get into business, you've got to fall in love with the problem you're solving, the value of solving, and get really clear about that. And then get ready to continuously and constantly innovate, improve, evolve as that market moves.
Right.
Right? So the first thing is just identify that, right? And most people describe their world through what they do, not the problem they solve.
Right. Right.
I mean, the classic example of this is V8.
Okay.
Right? So when people think about V8, they think about juice.
Right.
And so did the CEO.
Okay.
But that's not the problem it solves. I mean, why does anybody drink V8?
That's a good question.
It's gross.
Yeah.
So, like, why do people drink it?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was getting to.
I mean, but why do people drink it? What's it supposed to give you?
I mean, essentially, it would be like to get your vitamins and minerals, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So convenient nutrition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They thought they made juice. They innovated, made a whole bunch of different kinds of juices. That's looking at your world inside out.
Right.
They went from the end cap of the vegetable aisle
Right.
to the juice aisle.
Right.
Do you know anybody who cares about their health who goes to the middle of a grocery store?
That's true.
No
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So what happens is you end up, if you describe what you do from what you do, you'll screw this up.
Right.
But if you describe it from the problem you solve,
Yeah.
which is convenient nutrition. So if I was solving the problem of convenient nutrition, what else might I do?
Right.
So I'd probably do supplements.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had more peer pressure in my 40s to eat protein than I had to do drugs in my teens, right? So I'd probably come up with a protein bar or whatever it happened to be, right? So I bring this up because most people can't describe their product
Right.
from the convenient nutrition lens. They can only describe it from the juice.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of, like you touched upon it, but I think that's where a lot of people oftentimes when they're in the business have a lot of difficulty in figuring out what things to adapt based on the customer experience, because they're so in love with the product that they've created that they are so scared to change it, because they're like, well, this is what I made. Who is someone to tell me that hasn't put their blood, sweat, and tears into making this on how I should make my product, right? And that's that's kind of like where you die by the fate of your own sword, right?
You do, 100%. And what worked today is not going to work tomorrow. That's the only guarantee, right? And
Yeah.
you look at all the bigs that fell, right? Kodak invented the digital camera,
It's a good
buried
one.
it in the film, buried it in the basement, right?
Blockbuster, Netflix.
You look at
Yeah.
you look at Sears.
Yeah.
I mean, they owned Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My daughters last year circled the wish book. It was an Amazon wish book, though.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
They didn't move with their customer. And
Yeah.
the reality is that if you are in love with your solution, your craft, your art, you probably need a partner that is going to challenge you on, does it still have value in the market?
Right.
Can we create a business around it? And there's a difference between a craft and a business. And I have all the time in the world for the craft. But if you want to start and scale a business,
It
the
can't just be
business
about-
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is like the one myth that one myth about growth that small business owners need to unlearn?
Well, look, I told you I was functionally unemployable.
Yeah.
So you normally start a business because you want control
'Kay.
over every facet of the business.
Yeah.
And then if you want to scale, you have to give up control
Right.
over every facet of the
That's
business.
true. That's true. That's true.
So there are distinct stages on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Only 6% of businesses get to $1 million in revenue. Only 4% of those businesses get to $5 million in revenue. So that's 2.4 to 1,000 businesses. It's just not probable.
Right.
The reality is that you can build a business up to 300 to 600,000 selling to friends and family and
Yeah.
fools. You can get it to $1 million, $1.2 million on really hard work.
Okay.
But there's a common place called the Badlands.
Okay.
Happens somewhere around 1.8 to 2.2 million. Between that to 5 million, the whole world shifts on you.
Right.
You go from managing the sale to managing the sales process.
Right.
You go from
right.
managing the job to managing the schedule. And the whole world turns abstract.
Right. Because
and
you're
when-
not doing the things anymore. Right?
You're not doing the things.
Yeah.
You're enabling the leaders to lead processes that create value.
Yeah.
And when that game switches, when you can no longer name every customer, when you're no longer involved in every sale, when you're no longer involved in delivering everything, most people can't scale it. And look, I come from, like, my great-grandfather was a subsistence farmer.
Okay.
My grandfather, first-generation entrepreneur, he's a roofer. I spent my 18 and 19 summers on the roof. My grandfather scaled the business and then eventually went, this is ridiculous, and brought it right back down. Now, he did very well for himself,
Okay.
but he didn't want to grow it through that part.
Right.
And this is a decision point. Have you built yourself a job,
Yeah.
$500,000-$600,000 in revenue? Have you built yourself a small business that's going to give you a nice return, lifestyle business,
Right.
1.2 to 1.8 million?
Okay.
Or are you growing a business?
Right.
And there are decisions you need to make. There's no wrong here, right? Like, you can have a perfectly good life
Yeah.
at a $300,000 to $500,000 business where you get to do your craft.
Yeah.
And
But you're in it all the time.
You're in it all the time. You're answering the Instagram
Yeah.
DMs. You're in it.
Yeah.
You can have a perfectly comfortable business with 5-7 people, driving 1.2 to 1.8 million in revenue, nice return, 30% net profit. You can do that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Or you can try and scale something.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
The only way you get this wrong is not making that decision consciously.
Right. All right.
Right? You don't want to stumble into the Badlands because you just
And that's that little spot. there,
that's that
right?
little spot. That sort of 2.2 to 5 million.
Yeah.
The black hole is somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5 million.
Yeah.
And if you're in construction, times it by 10 because
Okay.
it's
Yeah. The margin's a little bit lower. and
well,
stuff like
you're
that, too,
90% in and out. So what
Yeah.
happens is you're only really 10% of that value. You're not
Right.
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 So
Now, I think what is also really difficult, and business owners, and you're a business owner, but obviously have adopted a practice to get out of the Badlands and,
Yeah.
and all that, and help business owners do that. I think what is very apparent in a lot of business owners is what you said a little bit earlier, is about letting go of that control.
Yep.
But also what I find, and kind of walk me through it or give me your thoughts on this, is how do business owners even get out of the business and start focusing on actually building systems to get out of that Badlands?
the first thing I can say is do it early.
Yeah.
Don't create a mess where you need to be involved in every part of the business. So early on, make a decision on what kind of business you're building, then build out the puzzle.
Okay.
Okay, so how many customers am I going to serve at what revenue, products? I mean, we walk customers through this all the time. We
Okay.
walk business owners through this. Like, if it doesn't work on paper,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to work in real life.
Right.
So let's model it out.
Okay.
So we model it out and just ask the hard questions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And to scale it to one level, just doing more of that is not going to help you scale it to the next.
Right.
We run into these, it doesn't matter what kind of world you live in, plateau, you're working out, you're running marathons.
Yeah.
We all hit plateaus.
Yeah.
And what we did to get to that plateau served us,
Mm-hmm.
but it
then
is
it needs to
not
change,
at all
right?
what we need to do at the next level.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, look, find someone to ask you the hard questions. And there's all kinds of great business groups
Mm-hmm.
that you can get involved with. Because the one thing you don't want to be doing is relying on your uncle
Right. Yeah.
for advice in a scaling business.
Yeah.
They haven't been there. They're well-meaning,
Yeah.
but they haven't been there. And
Yeah.
their opinion, I mean, look, there's only one guarantee if you're going to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get your ass kicked.
Fair.
Okay. And if I've had any success, you rattled off a whole bunch of awards. Great, fine. It's because I've gotten the shit kicked out of me.
Mm.
Right? I mean, how many people like blue cheese? I can tell you, not enough to run a company on it. I've lost
Fair.
$40,000 in that company. Right? We threw away $500,000 in a pre-revenue biotech company. I told you my background.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have $500,000 to throw away.
Right.
So took us about 4 years to earn that kitty back, and that was a massive miss of a swing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're in the arena getting your ass kicked, you probably want to seek counsel
Right.
from others who know what it is to get their
That
ass
have
kicked.
gone through that stage, right?
And so there's great groups. There's the Business Roundtable here. There's the Wallace McCain Institute. There's the Entrepreneurs Organization, which I'm a part of. There's YPO. There's the McKay Forum. There's tech. There are these ecosystems.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about those ecosystems is you step into it and you're having a real conversation.
Yeah.
But you're like, and the speed of trust is there because we both know what it's like under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
It may look sexy from outside, but I mean, I think Elon Musk said it's entrepreneurship is like chewing on glass and staring into the abyss and hoping that that's fun.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's not. It's unadulterated pain for the most part.
It is. Yeah.
Right? I mean, entrepreneurs work 80 hours for themselves for half the wage that they could make working 40 hours for someone else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got to stop this. It's glamorous.
Yeah.
You may get to decide what you want to do, but look, I salute anybody. I want to be in the arena with those who are in the arena.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, you're in the arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Now, I've talked about it a few times with people that have come on here as entrepreneurs, and I think that what is sold about entrepreneurship and is the illusion of it is that it's great working for yourself. It's all the glitz and glamour that's kind of like on the tip of that iceberg. But in reality, which I think is what you're talking about, getting your ass kicked, is all the shit that's at the bottom, which is like the payroll, the cleaning the toilets, the scheduling, the taking the phone calls, answering the Instagram DMs, all of that stuff there. And I think it comes back to, people often start this journey with their idea, hopefully a solution to a problem. But it starts alone. Maybe it starts with a partner or things like that. How does someone find the right people or the right processes, or what do they have to put in place in order to then delegate that responsibility comfortably so that they're starting to kind of get up to the tip of the iceberg and swimming, and catching their breath, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, most organizations have between 3 and 7 processes that are the engine of value creation. Okay, so if you're an entrepreneur, you need to know that those processes are working well, they're infused with your values, and they're hitting the targets that are going to take you to where you want. So you look at, and look, we can demystify processes. They're just workflows, right?
Right.
You have a set of marketing processes that attract the right eyeballs.
Yep.
You have a set of sales processes that convert those eyeballs into paying clients. You have a delivery process that delivers on your promise.
Yep.
And you normally have a scheduling process that allows you to do enough of those promises a week so you can make enough gross margin to pay the bills.
Right.
Then you have a series of HR processes that allow you to hire the right people with the right skills to do it. Increasingly, that group of people is sentient and non-sentient, so
That's right.
AI enabled.
Yeah.
And you give those people the right tools and the right visibility, and they're able to make the right decisions.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you want to turn an unconscious competence that you might have into a process infused with your values that delivers on the outcome.
Right.
Make sure you can see the metrics of success, see the outcome metrics, see the actions. And as long as you have visibility over what's going on and you've hired the right person with the right way of doing it and you have the right checkpoints, you can turn a sales process from I had to work 40 hours a week in sales to I have a 1 hour meeting once a week.
Right. And
Or you have a
someone that's
leader who
doing
has
the
that
40
meeting.
hours of work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you have a leader who has that 1 hour meeting and you have a 1 hour meeting with that leader.
To get a checkup and
Right.
yeah.
So like it's just layers. But the way you get confidence in delegating is you turn your ability to do something into a process that bluntly will be better than you could do it.
Okay.
That can be uncomfortable, but you should be able to make processes that can deliver better than you could.
Right.
You then hire the right people, you then hire the right leaders, and off you go. And what order do you do this in? Well, you do it process by process as you scale your company.
Right.
And then you have been part of building the process, you've been part of hiring the people. Enable them. And ideally you're hiring people who are smarter than you.
That's very true.
Right.
Yeah. So what would you say is the, let's say the business owner that might be listening to this and is about to hire, barring they've done a few processes, they've taken some of that advice there, they've laid out on paper the smarter way to do the things that I'm doing for, my construction business or my roofing business or whatnot, and they're going out and they're like, I'm going to hire my first administrative assistant, a couple of sales guys, and a guy that can, lay some shingles on a roof. But they've never hired anyone. They don't have an HR right now. What are they looking for?
That's a good question, but I mean, we distill this down to 6 E's.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking for someone who has energy, personal energy. You'll see that when they show up.
Yeah.
And can they move? Do they move with pace?
Yeah.
Do they have a sense of urgency? You're looking for someone who can energize. So you'll have a conversation, you'll go, I don't want to ever have that conversation again.
Okay.
That person didn't energize you.
Right.
Right, so you got energy, you got energized.
Yeah.
You're looking for someone with edge.
Okay.
So have they done research on you? Like if they don't know who you are, in this day and age of AI, if they haven't run open source intelligence on you and figured out who you are, you did your homework. I sat down here, you knew my past, you knew where I came from, you knew the businesses, etc. If they haven't done that homework, they're probably not going to do the homework for you.
Very sure.
Right? So, okay. Then you got execute. And this is the toughest one because the reality is there's a lot of people who can get shit started and who can talk a good game, but they can't execute.
Right.
Right? So you're looking for people who've got GSD. They can get stuff done and they can execute. You can get to this very quickly. I mean, I'm giving away my interview question here, but the interview question that I always ask is, tell me about the last 3 projects, last 3 personal projects you've done. And how they turn out. And every time they will tell you 1 or 2 stories. All the stuff that got in their way and why they weren't able to do it, or all the stuff that got in their way and why they were still able to do it. If they tell you the first set of stories, you know that there's always going to be an excuse. There's always someone else responsible for why they can't get stuff done. Unhirable, because that narrative is destructive.
Oh, it is.
Pretty soon you're going to be the excuse.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the execute. Then you've got empathy.
Okay.
And for us, that just means can they show up with compassion? So we work with business owners who don't know what they don't know, and we got to meet them where they are and walk forward with them, not do stuff to them. And we see similar problems over and over. We still got to meet them on the pathway where they are and walk forward with them. So do they have empathy? Can they walk in your shoes? And that's just a solid human trait as it is.
Yeah.
And then the final one that we look for, the 6th E, is ethics, which is a poor way of saying do they have values alignment?
Yeah.
And you want difference of capability, difference of competency, but you don't want difference of values because you really can't overcome that. I'm not here to tell you what your values are. I just know that if you get 4 or 5 people in the room and they have different values,
It's going to be tough.
Eventually they'll become unreconcilable conflict.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but you'll get there.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the interview question that you give because of exactly the example that you've given. Like, a great thing that you need to spot out as early as possible is, do you have people that upon an issue that comes up to them, are they going to be solution providers? Are they going to take initiative in trying to find a solution to the problem? Are they someone that is going to ask for help if they don't know, which sometimes is even better than the people
Way
that
better.
that will, on the other end, find all the excuses for why those things happen. And I find like what often leads with people that are more on the excuse side is they're also the silent resenters.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they get to a point where they'll just like not even tell you that it's an issue, and then they'll get into like kind of creating a little virus in your business where then the customer suffers. And
Yep.
then at the end of the day, when you're looking at your KPIs, like your sales stuff, you're like, well, we're not doing like, we're using the example of the roofer and stuff like that. It's like, oh, we haven't done as much roof sales this
Mm-hmm.
year. And you're the guy that, have started scaling your business, and you're doing that 1 hour meeting and all that. And you're
Mm-hmm.
checking with the sales manager. You're like, why are sales down this year? And then the sales manager doesn't know because you hired a bunch of people that
Yep.
are silent resenters now, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, you talk about this in a business. There's two things I'll say on that. First, you get artificial harmony with malicious compliance that leads to quiet quitting. That's the trend that you get. And but what most leaders don't know is that they're the ones who create the environment for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I never want is people to come up with solutions.
Okay.
I want people to identify problems, and I want an open arena for us to talk about all the problems. The reality is, in a business, you're going to trip over more things that are a problem in a week than you
Yeah.
can fix in 5 lifetimes.
Fair.
So running a good business is about sequencing the problems you're going to solve and making sure you don't try to put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't want good people with good intentions solving problems without conversation.
Right.
I want
right.
good people with good intentions
That's liability,
identifying
right?
problems. Then we can talk about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole like, don't bring me a problem, bring me a solution. That's
Yeah.
terrible advice.
Okay.
It's terrible advice because they only see one side of the story.
Right.
So most organizations are full of great people with great intentions, working really hard, making the organization worse every day.
Right.
And they don't see it
Yeah.
because they only see their side.
Yeah.
They don't see the other side fits into the whole.
So how would you empower someone to start being? Because I don't want to confuse it with like, hey, I'm trying to get my staff to take more initiative and be more proactive. But the way you're putting it, which I totally see where you're getting to, is you don't want to give too much of this sense of initiative where they just like, hey, I'm not even going to tell anyone. I'm just always going to provide solutions, and I might make mistakes. And
Yep.
well, it's not my liability because I'm not the company owner, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a way to get at this that we do. It's a reflection loop. Anybody who has success in this world, they reflect faster and they get it less wrong faster. They're not getting it right. And so great organizations have processes that you execute. And every day we go out with a plan and we never hit the plan because there's always stuff that gets in the way.
Right.
So great organizations will ask in every process area at the end of every day, say, what prevented you from having a perfect day today? And the reality is you can never have a perfect day. So what we're normalizing is talking about waste, talking about distraction, talking about stuff that gets in the way. So as a team, we're identifying this every day.
Right.
And then if there's anything urgent, we take care of it right away. But we let the stuff build up. And what you'll build up over time is a Pareto chart of mathematically, you'll start to see what are the real time sucks. What are the real things that are getting in the way? And once a month or once every 2 weeks, you get together as a group and you go, okay, out of the 857 opportunities for improvement, out of the 9,000 hours we wasted in the last month, what are we actually going to do about that? And you'll pick 2 or 3 things as a team to make that better. And so what great organizations do is they collect all this every day, and then they have a formal run rate for evolving and adapting the processes.
Based
They're
on-
adapting those in service of creating more value to the customer.
Okay.
So they're calling that outside in. What problem do I solve for who? What's
Yeah.
the engine that does it? Now, how do we identify this? And if it sounds boring as hell, it kind of is. But that is success. Success is boring. It's
Right.
about the extraordinary is nothing really more than doing the ordinary a lot longer than most are willing to do it.
Yeah. And I find like what that brings up is that a lot of times, and my journey through my career has been working with local businesses and also with small to medium businesses. And I find oftentimes you kind of see with entrepreneur this like moth and light syndrome where like when the problem that they're trying to solve, whatever they're trying to do, or the product that they have isn't working, they try to create something new instead of what you say is the boring work is like, okay, we built a process or we have a formula for something. Okay, every single day, let's look back. Okay, what didn't work out today?
Yeah.
Build that up and then start tinkering with that instead, right?
Yeah, and you have to do this at the end of every day. So
Yeah.
Ebbinghaus's curve, it's also called the forgetting curve.
Okay.
Like, look, within 20 minutes of learning something, 42% of it's gone.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, if you try to get that the next morning, over 67% of it's gone. So what happens is the memory remembers the exceptional; it doesn't remember the mundane. If you
Right.
want to improve something, you remove the mundane waste.
Okay.
Most of our success in this world comes down to our habits. What are habits?
That's
They're
true.
just personal processes.
Yeah.
But if you blame yourself for not getting the results you want, you're really just beating the shit out of yourself. There's no point. Let's take a look at the habits and the environment, and let's go. Behavior change happens when motivation meets ability meets a prompt supported by an environment. It's the same thing with processes in a company that work.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do here is let's lighten the load. It's not you didn't get results. It's
Yeah.
we as a group do not have the systems in place to enable the results we want anymore.
Right.
How are we working together going to fix the process? Now I'm taking it away from you as an individual, and I'm not looking at you going, hey, it's not your fault, but, which means I really told you it's your fault.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're going, no. How does value get created? How do we look at this process? Where's the waste in it?
Yeah.
How do we eliminate it?
Yeah.
Same thing if you want to improve your lot in life. You just look at a series of habits and re-engineer the habits.
Right, right. And I find like one thing too is there's kind of like these two sides of things. There's the businesses where there's so little process that the business owner has just adopted this mentality of like I'll just do it myself. Like just call me if there's an issue.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, I think that there's also businesses that have adopted this practice where they're like, if I get people to, and this is where I think you were going with the habit side, is if I get people to know when they're coming in, that it is as easy as knowing the directions to drive to work, then that person is going to be able to do their job consistently, and they're going to be able to do it exceptionally well because it's almost an unconscious behavior.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, and I want people unconsciously executing rituals, habits, but I want them challenging them every day on why they're not working. And when you look at the great organizations, they play two games. They are executing to the best of their ability with their processes today, and they're asking themselves every day, how could those processes be better? Right? And so you don't want anybody to just get in a rut, doing the same thing over and over and over again. What you want is people who are executing to the best of their ability, spotting where it's not working, and evolving both from how we're delivering and what the customer wants.
Yeah.
And that's the way in which you follow the customer and rebuild processes to follow the customer.
Right. And you're like in that area there, you're almost like validating like, okay, if we've continued to improve here in this facet, which is kind of like our innovation, the validation happens here in that consistency, but we can't forget that we have to continuously innovate. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get like this is all great, and I hope that everybody here listening to it, whether it's for the business they were thinking to start or the business they're currently running, they're going to be like, okay, I got to think about my processes. I got to start putting this in place. What Matt is saying is totally true. Now, there's one thing that often happens, which I think you see it a lot in the businesses that you work with or that come on board, is a lot of business owners are reactive. So the problems happen and they find an answer to that, but they're not actually developing systems so that it's like less about the reactive and more about like building that growth based on what you're trying to scale. How do you get them out of that?
Yeah, look, these used to be a lot harder to do. With AI, it's really easy. Right. I mean, you can basically yak into any AI engine you want. I don't care which one you choose. And you can say, this is what I do. Or you can just record yourself all day and you can dissect what you're doing. And you can take an unconscious competence and a reactive posturing and you can start to fight your way out of it.
Okay.
But the reality is you want to do this one workflow at a time.
Okay.
And if you're a really small business, you probably want to do it on the workflow you hate the most but think you need to do.
Okay.
Get that one identified on how you're doing it, and then partner with someone who loves that workflow and does it better, and then just manage them in the workflow.
Okay.
Right? That's where I'd go.
And then you get the confidence from,
Exactly.
okay, I delegated, giving them a responsibility, success.
Yeah.
Then I can do it somewhere else.
And
right?
and look, entrepreneurship is like the greatest disguised self-development tool ever invented, right? I mean, your blind sides will keep slapping you across the face until you actually deal with them.
Yeah.
if you want to grow, you have to do it through processes and people that you hire and do it. And you've got to let go of control and all that kind of fun stuff. But you should really decide what is your best life, and then build a business that serves your best life, and then systematize that business. And most owners that I work with haven't even asked that question.
What is
your best life?
Yeah.
So until you know that, you're going to rain tyranny down on everybody who works with you. Because today I want to build a $20 million empire, and tomorrow I don't want anybody in my business and nobody can do it right.
Very true,
and they live between that narrative, and you, if
like an
you
abusive
don't,
relationship.
exactly, pretty much,
Yeah.
not intentionally, but you have no idea what you want,
Yeah.
so you're reigning terror. So I mean, there was a mentor of mine once who just said, like, Matt, like, you got to define your best life first. And when you define your best life, you can figure out what you want your business or your businesses to do to serve that best life, and then get at making you're great at making businesses better, but in service of what?
Right.
Like, what's the end game? We live in a world of abundance. We, at the tip of a finger, can create just about anything we want.
Very true. Yeah.
So how are you going to turn that around and go, you know what, I want to do this?
Yeah. How did you answer that question?
It took a long time.
Okay.
But there's a you won't be surprised. There's a personal aim exercise I go through.
Okay.
And it's based on the Japanese principle of Ikigai, and it says, you know, what are you very passionate about? What are you the best in the world at? What do you have skills at, and what can you make a buck at? So it looks at desire and aptitude and passion and dollars and kind of brings it together. It's an Americanized version of Ikigai.
Yeah.
But it basically says, you know, answer those questions. And what's funny is if you look Ikigai up and you'll go, oh, this is easy to answer, and then go sit down with it.
Yeah.
It'll take you weeks, but you'll eventually answer that. And then this world comes down to 4 perspectives. It comes down to what are you doing for your community? What are you doing for your families, friends, and close relationship? What is your professional desires, and what are your personal desires? And so there are 2 exercises with the 4 quadrants of life that I look at. The first one is I write my own obituary. So my own obituary is written. What do I want the world to say when it's all said and done? And what's really clarifying about that is you stop with all of the BS, and you start going, what really matters?
Yeah.
You know, and I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old daughter.
Okay.
When it really comes down to it, I'm going to be remembered for maybe 2 generations if I get lucky, and I'm an older dad, probably 1. So that, you know, my moment on earth is very, very small.
Fair.
The only thing that's really going to matter to me at the end is the quality of my relationships and the way I showed up for my family and the way I showed up for my daughters. So once you get really clear about that, and you write your obituary and the impact you want to have, the legacy virtues, as Arthur Brooks will call them, you start to realize that, okay, there's not really that many risks. There's not really that many reasons to get that anxious. There's ways to mitigate this. Then take those same 4 perspectives and write your 10-year story. So that's the build. There's your resume virtues. What do I want to build?
Okay.
Right? Like, what do I want to, and then I write a bucket list. Says, what are the big and small things that I want to see and do and experience? And by the time you put those 4 things together, you got a pretty good idea what your best life is. Then you're going to translate it and go, what's that mean for this year?
Okay.
Right? And so my partner and I do this exercise. We get away every 90 days together as a couple, and we go, okay, look, this is where we're headed as a team, as a unit. And does it sound prescriptive? In some ways, but you know what? I know her bucket list.
Yeah.
I know what she wants to do. She knows what I want to do.
Yeah.
We have an idea of what we think life might want to be.
Yeah.
But we run into different ages and stages where what we thought is not actually working. Well, we have a safe place every 90 days
where you can,
when we go away and just go, like, is it working?
Yeah.
Right? And reconnect, reconvene. We put the dates in the calendar. We put the birthdays in the calendar. Like, look, put the big rocks in the calendar and let the rest of world flow around it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's how I got away from letting these 11 businesses work become the big rocks. They're not. Right? Like and how I got to the measurements that I have in life. Like for me, number of bedtimes that I do, I measure them. Stories I read, I measure them. Suppers. right? I
Yeah.
mean, we're doing this podcast tonight. This is the one night this week I will not be with
I'm
my
so
daughters
sorry.
for supper.
Sorry to you guys
Yeah,
if
that's
you're
okay.
watching.
That's okay. We do some of these fun things,
Yeah.
right? But this is one night, and I travel a lot, so I'm measuring these things. But it makes things really clear.
Yeah.
Like when I go on the road to Halifax, I don't get on the road till about 8:15.
Okay.
Why? Both my daughters are down.
Yeah.
They're sleeping. I jump out and go. Does it mean I get in a little bit later? Yep.
But you got those bedtimes.
But I got the bedtimes in.
Yeah.
Right. So it just clarifies when you, and
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
they're not always going to be 7 and 3, and they're not always going to want me to read a story.
Very
I
true.
can't get those minutes back.
No.
Right. Going to, we've got the major trips booked in.
Yeah.
Right. So headed to Europe with my cousin, who's a single mom, 3 kids. We're going to go and we're going to see London and Paris. Do Paris Disney for a couple days.
Okay.
We'll do the battlefields up and I'll show them that, and we'll
Nice.
experience London.
Okay.
These are bucket list items that I know my cousin wants to do.
Yeah.
If we're not driving businesses that enable best lives, what are we doing?
Right. Yeah.
Right? So these are examples of things. You know, my partner really wanted to see Adele, and so found out that her last concert was in Vegas. I knew that was on our bucket list. I saw
Okay.
that pop up.
Okay.
Just bought tickets. We did we flew to Vegas for 36 hours.
There you go.
We did Adele. Neither one of us drink, so we're not there to party.
Yeah.
I don't gamble.
There
I
for
have enough
memory,
risk in my
right?
businesses. I don't need it at the slot machines. And we flew in, but these are things that wouldn't have done. Went to Rome to see Ed Sheeran.
Nice. Wow.
Spent a week in Rome. But these are things you don't do unless you book them.
Yeah.
And let everything else go around.
Yeah, I
and I'm
love
giving
that.
these examples because I think too many people let life happen to them
100%.
instead of being intentional about what matters in the end, what you're building, and how you want to show up for those that you love.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that I have always struggled with, and I love hearing it from you because it seems like everything else that you describe or I guess that I describe at first is the vehicle that allows you to do the things that you write down that are actually matter to you.
Yeah.
And I'm saying from my perspective where it was always difficult is when you're younger, you're coming out of, university, you're starting your career and all that, like you're trying to check some of these boxes off, which realistically you're looking very short term. You're not doing that exercise of what does my best life look like. You're like, okay, I need to get a house, I need to have a career that makes X amount of dollars, and I need to find a partner. But those are like very surface level things that, like, when you look at the grand scheme of things, and we all get only one shot at this life, right? And I think
That's it.
the thing that you've said with letting life happen to you, which is where a lot of people fall into that victim mindset, is they don't take advantage of this one time that they get to do that.
No.
And write down that list of, hey, I want to do X amount of trips with, my partner, if you have the partner at that time, or you're like, hey, by, 2025 or 2035, I want to have, if you have a daughter, I would want to be there for at least an average of 100 bedtimes per year. And those are things that actually matter. And that do make you happy,
Yeah,
right?
and let's be perfectly clear. I was in my late 30s before I figured out how to be intentional about
Yeah.
this stuff, right? So like
I'm in
you're
that
sitting here
stage right
listening to
now.
this thing and you're like 25. Like, your brain just is fully developed. So
Yeah.
you got lots of time, right? Like that's the other thing to remember is that I didn't get my shit together until a mentor challenged me and said, like, look, no failure at home makes up for any success. Like if you've got a failure at home, it doesn't really matter what you've done in business.
Right.
Really doesn't.
Yeah.
And like, look, are our home lives perfect? No. Do we have to deal with all kinds of stuff? Absolutely we do. But are you able to show up for it, right?
Yeah.
And I think you start to learn, at least I started to learn, what really mattered. And I can tell you, I mean, I don't mind sharing this. My relationships, well, let's start on the other side. Since I started doing this, a little under 7 years ago, my net worth is 11x what it was. Okay, 11x. But that is irrelevant compared to the depth of my relationships, compared to the lattice work that we have created for our family. We have 1 week we go away every year, and all the cousins come with all their kids, and for a week we land. Last couple of years we've landed in Tracadie,
Okay.
a very affordable place.
Yeah.
Everybody descends. We've got our core family, and then we have our adopted friends that come in.
Mm-hmm.
We land, and the kids who are aged 3 to 12, and there's almost 15 of them now, right? And they just get the run of the place, and because it's in Tracadie, and you really can't get in trouble in Tracadie.
Very true.
You know, they go on their bikes. They get to live a life that kids got to live 20, 30 years ago, and we've set that up. And the kids look forward to that every year. But what are we doing? We're creating a set of core memories.
Yeah.
So that as these kids age, they have a family unit that they can lean on.
Yeah.
And we don't remember our life in minutes. We remember it in moments.
Yeah.
You ask anybody to describe their life, they're going to tell you core moments that happened that defined who they are, their narratives they're telling themselves. What we're trying to do is create that environment for that to happen.
And also you're showing them the value of community and relationships, right? And I think that that's something like, you know, in this day and age, there's so many distractions that we can provide to whether it's our kids or ourselves. And unfortunately, as much as I think we were sold this dream that social media would keep us more connected than ever, it's quite the opposite, right?
It is, yeah.
So in moments like I'm of the age where it was, I always consider my youth as like I had like 50-50. So I had like the going out and playing pickup hockey on the street when I was like in, you know, 7th, 8th grade. And then I also had the 10th to 12th grade where like Facebook started. Yeah. So I saw that and the impact of it while it was still minimal. But today is like, you could very well see youth that will never even have the experience of like going out with their bike all the way to their friend's house and playing tag or hide and go seek. They're just on their phone and just chatting away or things like that.
It's
right?
a synthetic existence. It's not real. Look, Jonathan Haidt writes a book called The Anxious Generation. Probably one of the most important authors to get your head around. We're starting to realize how damaging all of this has been. Okay, screens in school. We now have a generation that graduated that actually, for the first time in recorded history, has a lower IQ than the previous generation. It's always been the older generation that has lamented the new generation for their stupid, and that's never actually been true, except for this generation. And that's because we have put screens in classrooms, and it's very clear that we're social creatures. We're go along to get along creatures. Like we're cutting out all of the realness of this world, and we're replacing it with likes and synthetic relationships that don't last. Right. So I'm doing everything in my power to create an environment for my immediate and extended family to go like, let's build that net. I had that net. I didn't realize I had it. I didn't understand. My grandfather made sure he lifted the family off the farm. My dad was the first to graduate from university. I was the second. My grandfather created an environment where all of us had our education paid, and we all had cars at 16. Why do we have cars? So we could get to work.
Right.
That was the point, right? Like freedom and work were the things. And he made sure. And did I get to start life on the 99-yard line? Yeah, I did. Because he did that. But he also always had a place to land. And it was never exorbitant. It was never extravagant. You know, my grandparents have a place. They aren't with. My grandfather's not with us anymore, but my grandmother still has the place on the Beckwith Road. My brother and I bought the family land. My brother has a place up there now. So you know, it's about 1,000 acres just outside of Harcourt that we can land on. But that was always the sanctuary. Right. You could go up there and just be. And so we're trying to create that again in this wild world.
I think that's out of all of the information that I've taken in already is the one I think is the most important, is that without, you know, strip away all the things that we've been, you know, we're obviously grateful to have in 2026, but without community and relationships and the social circle that you have, none of that really matters.
None of it.
Right?
None of it.
So with that being said, I do want to kind of turn it into on the AI spectrum, even though we are talking all about these technologies. Now, there's I said it in the intro. There's obviously, when change comes around, some people are obviously terrified by it. I think AI is one of those situations where we're like, is it going to steal my job? Is it going to be taking all my information? Can I trust it? Things like that. And I think what happens with that is that it's just that fear of the unknown, which I think happened when there was the internet, when Facebook showed up, when Amazon started selling books. Like we've all gone through these
Yep.
new emerging technologies that are revolutionary. This one is pretty crazy.
Yep.
Um, how how do you get people to adopt AI in a more, let's say, in a baby step fashion, I guess?
Yeah. Look, I've put my first query into ChatGPT in January of 2023.
Okay.
It was very clear at that point that the world had changed,
Very.
and it was not going back.
Yeah.
Genie was out of the bottle.
Yeah.
The value of knowledge went to zero. AI is simultaneously the smartest and stupidest thing you'll ever interact with, right? You can have a detailed conversation about 13th century Byzantine economic policy, but it can't count the R's in strawberry sometimes, right? So like, it's like, okay, what's going on here? So it's this, and people want to take the point that it can't count the R's in strawberry and say it's stupid and it doesn't work,
Yeah.
and they get happy about dismissing it.
Yeah.
You hit on another part with change. Look, at the end of the day, people do not fill in the blanks with positive information. And we're biologically wired to see threat. That's
Right.
your ancestor who didn't see threat got eaten by the saber-toothed tiger, the saber-toothed
Yeah,
tiger, right?
yeah.
So at the end of the day, we are biologically, anthropologically programmed to see threat. So where we don't have the answer, we fill in the blank with threat. Is AI going to be disruptive? Yep, most disruptive thing we've ever unleashed in human history. 60% of jobs in the advanced economy will be radically changed in the next 24 to 36 months.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Yeah.
We are all moving from individual contributors to conductors of work. We aren't going to do the work, we're going to choreograph the work.
Okay.
So
right.
that requires different skills.
Yeah.
You're now not doing the work, you're managing a workflow, working with sentient and non-sentient teammates, human and non-human teammates to drive it. So the first thing that I do in any AI awareness session is help people understand that it's here and you can't put it back in the box.
No.
So now, just like every other transformation in human history, you are either going to choose to adapt, opt out, or get run over. So it's not an option to opt out unless you want to grow carrots, and if you want to go grow carrots, that's cool, and you can have a craft and you can do it. And look, some people have decided to do that, and some days I go, that's not a bad option. Are there going to be bad actors with AI? Yep, certainly are. Are there many more pathways than there ever have been before? Yep, certainly has. Are we creating more fragile systems? Yep. Now people are choreographing stuff, they don't actually know the base knowledge. All that's true. And you have to find a pathway through, because it's going to disrupt your life, it's going to disrupt how you create a living, and it's going to disrupt the business you're involved in.
Right.
So deciding to say I'm not looking at that is not a great approach.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's going to happen faster than any change in human history. It took 2 years for 1 billion people to use ChatGPT a week. The same change with the internet took 13 years.
That's true. Eh?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the internet was the fastest transformation we had. Like
Right.
the plow took hundreds of years.
Yeah.
The Industrial Revolution was a lot more.
Yeah.
And the barrier to entry is nothing. I mean, like for $36 a month, you can have access to the sum total of human knowledge.
That's true. Yeah.
So there's no barrier. Like when you had to buy a computer, there was a minor barrier.
Yeah.
When you had to buy capital machinery for a factory, there was a
Major barrier, yeah.
So these barriers are there. Is it going to turn us all into paper clips, as Elon Musk has said a couple times? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to say no, but I wouldn't have thought that AI could do what it can do today. So maybe.
Yeah.
Or is it just a platform shift? And if it's just a platform shift, have we gone from the internet to a version of AI? You got to pay equal attention, because when we made the platform shift from local comm to e-com, for a brief moment, everybody said, Main Street can sell global. This is amazing.
Right.
But that's not what happened. Eventually, Amazon gave you a frictionless pathway, and you were able to do it for 7%, and everybody jumped on Amazon's platform. And then Amazon's amount they charge you went from 7 to 30%, squeezed all the margin for them. And then if you got any product that worked well, they documented the numbers behind it and they started selling and competing with you and ate away your margin and then ate away your revenue. So we allow, like, look, Jeff Bezos won capitalism, okay?
Right.
Like he won. He got it, right? Him and Elon have figured out how to win capitalism.
Yeah.
The rest of us had to figure out what to do with the shrapnel.
Yeah.
If the same thing's happening with a shift to AI, and it's going to erode the value you can create per day, and therefore make it less, you probably want to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll give you a prime example. We used to get paid $250,000 to create balanced scorecards for people. Balanced scorecards are just ways to measure an organization. Financial, customer, process, enabler.
Yeah.
With good measurement, you can see what you need to see faster. You can make quicker decisions.
Yeah.
Huge value. Okay. B, multiple months. You'd have to have a real heavy subject matter expert, $250,000. That is now worth nothing. With a good prompt, I can get you a balanced scorecard in about 12 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorting through with all your data. I know that because I worked with a $150 million company in New Brunswick, and we did their balanced scorecards in literally 17 minutes. Corporate, 4 value streams, enablers, done.
Yeah.
So now the value is, how do I take what I just created and create more value?
Right. Right.
Right. And look, as a consumer, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Because your costs are going down drastically. As somebody who's producing a widget or a service, this is really destabilizing.
Yeah.
Because the value of what you're producing is headed down.
Right.
Right. So now you got to figure out and go, okay, how do I get my head around, first of all, what is the AI impact to the market I'm serving?
Yeah.
What does that mean for the value I'm creating for that market? What does it mean for the processes that create that value? And what does it mean for my skill sets that interact in the processes to create the value for that market? And you got to do that math.
Yeah. Now, we've had one company that came in that is involved with helping companies integrate AI into their workflows and their companies. And one thing that they brought up, which I'd love to get your opinion on this, and I think it comes back to what you're just saying on finding what skill set that I can amplify with AI, or what do I need to learn more in order to use AI effectively. The way that they were putting it is, their AI may take away, let's say, 90 million jobs tomorrow, but it'll create 180 million new jobs in 6 months from now, because of people that are out taking AI and almost kind of like using it more to do the things that they really don't enjoy doing, or the things that take up a lot of their time but don't require a lot of knowledge. And then now they'll be able to do things that a lot of times are like strategically beneficial for the company, so that you can then, like you were saying, where we teach people to have these habits so the habits are consistent, and we can work for the customer or service the customer and make them happy, but at the same time we're trying to find innovative ways to continue to make that experience better. Well, now with AI, we're able to do more of this innovative stuff quicker, because we don't have to spend all the time doing some of the habits that AI can do for us, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a really optimistic look at it.
Okay.
And an unrealistic look at it.
Okay.
It's, I come to these things with a bit of edge.
Yeah.
First of all, AI is smarter than all of us if you can get access to the knowledge. So first of all, if you think you're going to use it to be subservient to you, it's not like, people sometimes look at this and go, it'll do the boring stuff and I get to do the fun stuff.
Okay.
It actually probably does the fun stuff better than you.
Right.
So do you really want it doing just the boring stuff? And actually the rinse and repeat stuff, it's not actually that great at all the time. It's not great at automating stuff. We got to stop saying this. It's because it's not a machine. It actually acts like a junior or a senior colleague with lots of mistakes.
Right.
Far more than it acts like a rinse and repeat automation machine.
Yeah, like a manufacturing process.
Yeah,
right?
It's not a piece of equipment.
Okay.
Okay. It's a prediction machine.
Okay.
It's a black box that it gets increasingly better at predicting answers.
Okay.
So like if you want to read anything on this, read Ethan Mollick's Co-Intelligence, or Zach Cass, who writes a book called Renaissance. He's playing the AI, he's playing the Renaissance, but Renaissance.
Yeah.
I think both of those will get your head around. They're very readable, very approachable. And if you want a longitudinal study on it, look at Yuval Harari's Nexus, who looks at what does this mean over the long arc of human history. Okay, so look, every past revolution or evolution has led to more and different jobs. So that's what they're referring to. There's actually an effect called this. This one to me is a little bit different. Look at what's happening to the amount of youth we're hiring. So it was down 17% last year. Because why would you hire a 22 to 25-year-old when I can take a 40-year-old that already has experience and brains and amplify them with AI? Why would I bother? So the study's called The Canary in the Coal Mine, and it looks at the impact on AI. So I think it's more nuanced than just we're going to create 180 million new jobs. We are going to create new jobs, but we're going to disrupt so many existing jobs at such a pace that it is going to hurt a lot more than most transformations. And I don't want to sugarcoat that for people. I don't want to say, like, look, it'll be all right on the other side. Yes, it will. I don't believe AI is going to replace people, but I believe that people who know AI will replace those who don't. And the same thing is for businesses, right? So I think that we run a risk of telling people, don't worry, you don't really have to learn it. There'll just be new jobs for you on the other side. No, I think you're going to interact with it in every facet of how you create value. And then I think we've got really interesting questions to ask. So a couple of those are, look, the people who get the most benefit from AI right now are really smart or have high creativity capability. And then they use AI to amplify that and become smarter and more creative. But the interesting thing is that the more that they integrate AI into their personal workflows, the more that they lose the muscle they had to do it. And then as a result, they end up with muscle atrophy, cognitive atrophy, if you will. So you end up with this thing. I mean, I don't know how many sports you played. Did you play sports growing up?
I did play soccer.
Okay. When's the last time you played?
Probably a couple months ago.
Yeah. Okay. Are you as good as you once were?
Well, based on that example, I'll give you a better period that we could reflect. So I played university soccer, then I stopped playing for about, I'd say, 8 or 9 years, and then we had an alumni game. And at that alumni game, you go on the pitch thinking you're still the 25-year-old. It was like a humbling experience.
Yeah, I mean, your brain says do this, and your body roars at its ignorance, right? It goes like, you don't do that anymore. Like, I remember my last hockey game, right? I remember it distinctly because I knew what to do and couldn't do it. So, like, these are things that if you don't use it, you lose it. And as we enter an age of convenience with an answer machine right beside us, we start to lose that expertise. Here's why this is so important. We went through a period where, like, people don't have to work out; they can drive everywhere. This convenience economy has not really led to a healthier population.
It hasn't, no.
No. So what do you think the answer machine's going to do to our brains?
Atrophy.
Exactly. So you really have to decide what's the cognitive gym you're going to put in place for yourself. How much time are you going to spend writing? How much time are you going to spend reading? How much time are you going to spend away from it? And at the same time, you have to know that when I use it, I create more value quicker. These are questions that humans haven't had to really contend with. Because most of the things we've created have been subservient to us. The car goes when I press the pedal. Right? Google Maps goes to where I want it to when I put in the thing.
You prompt it.
Right. It doesn't interact with you back and forth. So these are, I think AI is going to fundamentally alter the way we interact with life. I think it's going to fundamentally alter the way we interact with our skill sets, with workflows, etc. And yet it can be incredibly powerful. So I'll give you one of the most, I use this example in almost every session. My dad, about 5 years ago, so my dad passed away almost a year ago. 5 years ago, he called me, I was in Halifax, and he said, Matt, been diagnosed with multiple system atrophy. I got a year to live. Is there any chance you'll move home? So that's when we moved from Halifax to Moncton. We bought a house 2 roads over. But we weren't really getting there. You get there like 2-3 times a week, but we weren't there. So eventually, I met with him, and had a good conversation with him, and he was in a chair at this point, and he still went biking. I mean, Christ, the day before his MAID process, he went on a 15-kilometer trike ride, battery powered, but went there. So like still very active, fought to the last minute. Why I bring this up is that with about 2.5 years left in his life, we thought he only had a year. He survived, but then he was regressing. I sat down and chatted with him and asked him if it was the disease, and we found out that no, it wasn't the disease. He was lonely. Sitting in the chair, loneliness was killing him. So I had an 8-week-old and a 4-year-old at the time. And I talked to my partner and I said, like, look, why don't we move in? I got a big house. So I talked to his partner, my stepmom at the time, and talked to him and said, like, why don't we move in? And they said, yeah, let's do that. And he had life, and he had love, and he had laughter around, and my partner would come down and set the 8-week-old on his lap, and he would hold the 8-week-old while get the 4-year-old ready for school, and it just created a lot of life. Anyway, we got to January of last year, and he said, Matt, I'm struggling a lot. This is getting worse. I've set the date. It's going to be March. I wanted to talk to somebody to go, like, how can we navigate this as a family? Planned death isn't something we're used to. How do now we have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. The only life they've ever known is with Grampy. What do we do in the next 90 days? And like, we have worked with healthcare transformation. I don't lack for access. I can text a CEO and get a response pretty quickly. I don't say that to brag. I say that to say that I don't lack for access, but in this case, when I reached out and said, like, where do we go? How do we navigate this? There's very little. They're like, I don't really know, Matt. Like, we have lots for the person going through the MAID process, but to support their family. Okay, so I went to ChatGPT, and there's a framework that you can use to get the best out of a prompt. It's called the RICE framework: role, input, context, constraint, evaluate. It's a framework to get the best out of prompts. The role I gave it was a bit of a unicorn role. I said, look, you're an expert in multiple systems atrophy, rare neurological disease. You're an expert in child therapy, family therapy. You know about the MAID process, and you know how to guide a family through the last 90 days of someone's life. So that's the role that I gave it. Then I said, here's the situation. Gave it all the input. We live with them, all that stuff, gave it all the input. Gave it the purpose, said, look, I want to show up for him. I also want to show up for my daughters. Like, what do we do for my daughters in this process, etc. Gave it some of the constraints, like, hey, like, don't talk to me about the 5 stages of grief. I know those. Give me the real stuff. And it produced basically a playbook on how we could show up for Dad. And I had the good fortune of having some access to some really good psychologists. And I said, look, can you take a look at this playbook and tell me if I'm missing anything? Because I don't want to, I can't tell if it's hallucinating or if it's helping me, because I don't have expertise. Because it can be a shrink for me doesn't mean I'm now a shrink and understand what it is, right?
Exactly.
So, and I say that because just because you can read a legal document does not mean you're a lawyer now.
100%.
Just because you can get a second opinion does not mean you're a doctor. And people are making these mistakes, like they're not. So I had, and the psychologist who looked at it, great friend, he went through and he gave me a couple pointers, got it back in. And there we had this playbook. And we did things like, I brought my dad's friends together from his working career, and we rented the box at the Wildcats, and just had this like awesome night where he was just like in shock of like all the people who made it from all over Canada who came in, wanted to spend that last time with him. We did, parties in the last couple of nights to celebrate life and that kind of stuff. We moved out 4 weeks before. Give my daughters a new rhythm. Get them into a new habit, sudden, so it wasn't just sudden, right? So that they just didn't rip them away, right? Came down to, should my 6-year-old be at the hospital or not? And there's a real debate in the literature, right around 7, 8. Should they go? Should they not? Where do you have that last moment? And it still hits me a bit. Like we decided we don't want her to see it all wired up, etc. So we had her have her last moment at the house, and then we went with Dad. All these unanswerable questions. I'm really proud of the way we showed up for Dad. For him, I'm really proud of the way we navigated with the family. And I would not have shown up
In the
in that
same
way
way.
without access to AI. I wouldn't have had access to it.
That's true.
I wouldn't have been able to bring this unicorn of an expert together
Yeah.
to give me some guidance so that I could show up in a way that I could be happy. And look, I talk about that time and I go, I hope no one has to go through it, and I hope everybody gets a chance to play out the final 90 days
Yeah.
of someone's life that you really care about
Yeah.
in such an intentional and authentic way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a powerful story too, because it's, we always look at people hop onto AI and they're like, hey, can you help me do a grocery list, right? But they
Exactly.
never think about like, okay, and I love that you use also, okay, I'm going to push this out. It's going to prompt something to me, or it's going to show me an answer, but then I need an expert to actually validate this for me,
Got it.
right?
Because otherwise,
Because it's sensitive information. You can't just go and say, okay, this is for sure true, so therefore I have to try it.
and it's not that AI hallucinates that's the problem, right? It will hallucinate. It's that it hallucinates so confidently that if you're not an expert in that domain,
You
you
won't
won't
catch
catch it. That's the issue with AI.
Yeah.
So what it does is it creates a false sense of confidence
Yeah.
while increasingly giving you a more fragile life because you're basing your decisions on information that is very likely not as accurate as you might like it to be.
Right. Unless, of course, you're an expert at it.
And right.
Yeah.
So where are your experts that you're
Yeah.
running into, right? So you can take that example with my dad,
Yeah.
and I can transfer it to a whole bunch of other stories that it's helped me show up as a leader better. It's helped me prepare for crunchy conversations in a much
Yeah.
better way. You are Marshall Goldsmith, one of the top coaches in the world. This is the situation I've got coming
Yeah.
up, right? But the most important thing is find out what role you want to give it
Yeah.
and make sure that you give it all the information. And when you use that RICE framework, you will get way more out of your prompt. Like AI is not just like a less terrible Google.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's designed. It can be anybody you want it to be. Especially so if you give it the person or give it the profession.
Yeah.
And
Then there's a starting point.
exactly. And as you do that, you're doing what so few do. You're defining the problem with a level of detail that somebody could actually help you. And just imagine if you went to regular inquiries and did that. Like
Yeah.
you're actually spending time defining the problem and talking about what you might want out of this.
Yeah.
You just get a different level of answer back.
100%. Now, in terms of like, going into a business, helping them strategize, get better at processes and things like that, I think that it tells a lot about your character, about wanting to help and make, whether it's the business world a better place or, somebody's life much more productive or just have them have a better outlook in life with the same principles that you use in your life, where you're telling them like, what does your best life look like, and then start building the rest from there, because like some of the stuff you're doing in your business, like it's probably not as important as you think it is. um all that said, I'm wondering, you're doing all of this work. What do you hope that has in terms of impact on the people that you help, or at least what story that you hope it leaves as almost like a legacy piece on the work that you're doing?
Those are a couple questions wrapped into one. Look, what drives us individually, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I've been gifted this incredible base, a family that really cared, that learned how to navigate conflict, that prided itself on showing up for one another. I was given that base. I was given a set of challenges when I was younger by a father who understood systems thinking. Wasn't always easy growing up in that environment because you just want your dad to be in your corner and your dad's forcing you to think.
Can you just
right?
let me?
Yeah, exactly. Can't you just be in my corner?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yes, I'm in your corner,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to let you away with light or loose thinking.
Yeah.
But given that base that so many don't have, like unconditional love was just it was there, right? And forcing good thought patterns was just there. So I got this base that most don't get, and so I won the ovarian lottery. Born in a country with a family that believed in progress, and so now what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Right? You can create a living, and cool. I'm grateful that I've got just a wonderful partner, a rich relationship with her, two wonderful daughters that I get to now live a little bit through their eyes and get to experience that joy again.
Yeah.
And I think if I try and weave this back to an answer to your question, I get an immense amount of fulfillment from helping people who have potential with organizations that have potential to have impact, make a mark in this region.
Okay.
And we need more companies, we need more organizations, we need more leaders to put it on the line and do it. When you look at productivity, we're just not very good at it. If you take the 50 states and the 10 provinces, New Brunswick is 60th out of 60.
Okay. Yeah,
There's
true.
not a place in North America that is less productive. And that means that creates less value per hour than New Brunswick.
Right.
And then Nova Scotia is 59th. We have wonderful
Nova
people.
Scotia catching strays here. So.
Yeah, exactly. But we have wonderful people
100%.
that care immensely and that work their ass off.
Yeah.
Now, can we just connect that to value creation so we can create a region that is a little more prosperous? And in a world that is so uncertain, can we just get certain of a few things?
Yeah.
And go for it?
And you need the leaders for that, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
You need some people to lean in.
Yeah.
And I'm here to support those who want to do it.
Okay. It's a great way to say it. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I ask this one final question to everybody that comes in here. It's usually in some form of variation, but this one is pretty straightforward because I think it, you've had this really cool, way of explaining things that are rather complex and make them very simple. You've, showed us that entrepreneurship, as it can be, a very big risk, and you can get your teeth kicked out a few times. It's also something that can be immensely empowering, but also that can allow you to have the journey of self-development within your business, right? Which is really cool. Now, if you were to go back to the moment that you started your entrepreneurial journey and you were able to stand in front of that person, knowing the things that you know today, what's one piece of advice that you would give that guy?
I'm glad I didn't know. Honestly, I think if you talk to most entrepreneurs, you'll find if they had laid out the pathway and showed you the journey that you were going to go on, you'd never choose it. You'd never choose it. Like you're just going to get drug over broken glass. You're going to get beat with your flat sides. You're going to either develop or die. Like this is, this brass tacks. But I go back and say, with all the naivete that you have, enjoy.
Right.
Enjoy. And best of luck. And I hope I see you on the other side in the same shape that you're in now. Look, I wish there was a more glamorous answer to that. There isn't.
Very well put.
There isn't. Go do it. Look, I'd rather spend a lifetime trying to create than a lifetime on the bench wishing I had.
Very well said. Very well said. That is the most eye-opening description I've ever been given of that journey, because I never thought of it looking in the perspective of, imagine if I put a movie in front of you of what you're about to go on. It's the sickest movie ever. It's the trials and tribulations, the horrors, all the struggles and all that. We're going to watch it, but then you have to go actually be that movie. You never do it.
No, God,
Very
no.
true.
No.
A very enlightening conversation, Matt. This has been incredible to hear your perspective on a lot of great things. I'm very thankful that you've, although you've given us a lot of information, I think it was well articulated, and it also, to me, it brings a lot of, extra questions that I want to reflect on when I'm thinking about various things, whether it's in relationships or it's even the way that I prompt on AI or even the way that I use it, and also the way that or maybe someone that's listening is thinking about, okay, I've got things that I'm doing. Is there a process in place? Is there, if we're scaling our business or we're scaling our department, is there a workflow that's put in place so that someone can take on those responsibilities and do them very well? Those are all questions that I think this conversation has brought up, and that's essentially why we have people come on here to keep us, being the student of life. And I think you've done a fantastic job of doing that.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks
Thanks.
a lot.
Awesome.